Hello again everybody. So today I wanted to do a video on the most taken for granted part of a motorcycle, which is the battery. Now it's fair to say that a lot of people, when it comes to motorcycle maintenance, either generally don't think about the battery or it's the last thing they think about. Which is unfortunate because, especially if you rely on your bike for commuting and things like that, it's actually a very important thing to keep maintained. So let's start with what a battery on a bike actually does. Now, most of you will know that obviously it provides the power to start the engine initially, so it provides the power to the starter motor. And then from there, the generator's running and you get power through that, which is true to a point. What you need to understand though is that when the engine is running, when it's producing electricity through either the alternator or the generator coils, it doesn't produce enough power all the time. It will produce enough power at a certain RPM. So say, take example my engine produces its peak electrical output at 5,000 RPM. So all the time you're at 5,000 RPM, it's producing enough power to run the lights, all the electrics, the ignition system and everything else. But when you're below that, so when you change gear and you go below 5,000 RPM and various other conditions, it's not producing enough power. So this is where the battery comes in and provides that power and keeps everything going until the engine is again producing enough power to run those systems. Now obviously that alternator generator will recharge the battery to a degree as well, but the other thing a lot of people don't realise is that it's not designed to charge the battery fully. So if you have a particularly dead battery, the generator cannot fully charge it, and in actual fact in quite a few situations, it depends on the motorcycle obviously, but sometimes what can happen is if you've got a particularly dead battery and the generator's trying to charge that battery, it can actually reduce the current that's available to other electrical systems, and in some cases actually reduce the performance of the engine, as well as obviously cause you problems with starting and reliability once the battery, if it remains too dead, you won't be able to get going again. The other slight issue is that if you have a battery that's particularly run down, you can actually put a bit too much pressure, if you like, on the charging system, and that can cause damage to the charging system as well. So it's important to keep your battery maintained in order to keep those systems from becoming damaged and just to keep your bike running and reliable in general. So how do you go about doing that? Well, the first thing is to look after the battery right from the beginning when you first get it. So when you buy a brand new battery, say either a standard lead acid battery or a AGM or gel battery, the first thing you usually do is put the acid in, if you don't buy it with it pre-set up. Obviously, a lot of places, when you buy the motorcycle battery, you'll get that acid pack that you have to stick on top and let it drain into the battery, and then it's got a seal, and then it's a sealed unit. Or like I say, if you buy it already done, then that's fine. But either way, when you get the brand new battery home, you don't install it directly onto the bike straight away. The first thing you want to do is charge it with a good battery charger. Now what I have here this is what I use. This is for charging and for maintenance. So this is a smart charger. It's not a trickle charger or anything, it's a smart charger. So how this works is it actually monitors the battery. So it will monitor the voltage of the battery, it will charge it up to full, and then it will switch to a maintenance mode, which means that it will keep a check on that voltage, and it will automatically turn on and off depending on whether the battery needs it, just to keep it maintained, because over time, even just standing, a battery's voltage will naturally drop anyway. So this just does exactly that, it maintains it at that full charge. This one actually, this is a Shark GN4000. It's actually quite good. It's got a lot of safety features built in, such as it monitors the temperature of the battery and things like that, prevents overcharging, shuts off if the temperature gets above a certain thing. It basically protects it against unsafe conditions, which is obviously very helpful. We'll come back to this in a minute because, as I say, I use it for maintenance as well. But yeah, so when you get a new battery from the shop, even if it's already charged. Good practice is just to stick it on the charger, let it get up to full, and just leave it on the charger for a little bit, just so you've got a nice full battery before you put it on the bike. And the reason for that is because if you stick a brand new battery into a bike without charging it first and use it, you can actually cause a little bit of, not damage as such, it is recoverable, but you can cause issues where the battery will never actually hold a full charge. Now, again, going back to this maintainer, this actually has a recovery mode. Some of them do, which is very handy. Now, if you do that, as in put the battery on the bike without charging it properly and run it, if you run the recovery mode on these things, 9 times out of 10 it will fix that problem, it will recover the battery, but there is always the chance it might not, so it's always best just to be on the safe side and charge it properly first before installing it on the bike. So you've got your brand new battery on the bike, fantastic, it's holding voltage. Just so you know, if you have a multimeter, if you check the voltage between the battery terminals whilst everything is off, you should be getting, if the battery is fully charged, it should be anything from 12.6 volts upwards. It might be a little bit higher, whatever, but generally 12.6 volts, give or take a little bit, is fully charged. Less than that, if you're getting like 12.4 volts, you're probably about 75% charged and moving down. If you drop below, I can't remember, it was 11.9, 11.8 volts or something like that. Basically anything below 12 volts is basically a dead battery and it needs charging immediately. So there we go, yeah, so you should have brand new battery, you should have 12.6 volts. If it's fully charged across the terminals, jobs are good. So then off you go. You can get on riding, things like that. Now, obviously, if you've got a nice healthy battery, if it's got 12.6 volts and everything else, and if you're going to be riding for a good hour or so, then the generator is going to be able to top it up. So you will use, because the starter motor uses quite a chunk of electricity to start the bike, but that electricity, that chunk can be replaced if you're going to ride for a good hour or so. If, however, you only do short journeys, if you just nip down to the shops and back and things like that, and you do a lot of sort of stop starts and you never really get the bike into that RPM where it's actually producing enough power to recharge the battery, over time you're obviously going to be losing power, because each time you'll use a chunk of electricity to start the bike, and then as you're going along it will recharge it to a point, but if you're only doing short trips at low RPMs it won't quite fully charge it, so each time you'll lose a little bit. So naturally over time, and on top of that I should also mention, all the time your bike is standing there, over time, and I don't mean like it's going to happen in the space of a day, but certainly over weeks or months, the battery will naturally discharge anyway. So you need to get that power back into it. And as I say, the generator by itself is not enough unless you're doing those longer journeys at a sustained RPM. So this is where the battery maintenance comes in. So what I've done, what I've got, this particular charger comes with two connections. As you see, it's got, this is the connector that comes off of the charger, and then you've got the standard clamp connectors, which can obviously be attached to that and used as normal, but it also comes with a connector with ring terminals, which I've attached to the battery. They stay attached to the battery, and then let me get a light down here so you can see this a bit better. There we go. So I'm just going to put this here. Yeah, this is a bit dodgy, I know, but there you go. So as you can see here, it's got a little cap on it. It's got a waterproof cap just to protect it, but I've also got this all hidden behind the maintenance panel on my bike. This is the other connector. So what I do, right, let me move this out of the way, but what I do obviously is about once a week, it's always good practice just to top up your battery, say once a week, especially if you use it regularly for short trips. You just take off, in my case, take off the side panel, unclip this, and then plug the charger in, and you're good to go. And it will charge the battery up and then maintain it until you unplug it from the device. Another thing this is useful for, and another thing that you should do if you're intending to leave your bike for a long period of time, say over winter, or if you are putting in storage for a few months and not going to be using it, a good thing to do is to actually, again, have one of these smart maintenance or smart chargers, and you can have it plugged in the whole time. And as I say, it won't be actually turned on the whole time. It'll turn itself off, and it will just be on standby effectively, and maintain a diagnostics of the battery. And as soon as the battery voltage drops below a certain point, it will just click on and just charge it back up again, and then click back off again. So it's not overcharging the battery. It's not constantly throwing voltage into it, but it's just keeping an eye on it and keeping it as it should be. And as I say, all this is in the interest of keeping the motorcycle reliable, because you know that it's got the power, it's going to start. You're not going to go to start the bike in the morning to go to work and all of a sudden it just doesn't have the power to go. And also it's going to make sure that you're running the best you can, you're not losing any power. The other thing is, especially if you have a more complex motorcycle, like the larger BMW adventure bikes and things like that, a lot of them have more complicated computer systems, and these systems have memories. And obviously, if you have a battery that you leave for months at a time, and then you go on your next adventure, you turn it on and there's no power, not only will you not be able to start the bike, but also when you do eventually get a new battery in there and turn it on, a lot of the settings and everything else will have been forgotten. Sometimes the bike just won't start and will require a dealer reset because it has certain security systems and certain other things that require it to have a constant electrical connection. And of course, if it loses all power, that can cause a big problem. So as I say, it is important to maintain your battery for these reasons. And yeah, there you go. So hopefully this video was useful to some of you guys out there. If it was, and you did enjoy the video, please do give it a like. If you haven't already, do subscribe to the channel, go check out my other videos, and as always, I will catch you guys again soon.